think we've started. My name is Steve Dale. The Human Animal Bond Association every month brings us a special presentation, and boy, this one is special. Now, by the way, throughout, if you have comments, if you have questions, I believe I can see them right over there. If not, Julie, the ever-present Julie, can text those to me, because we definitely want our very special guest to be able to do that. And boy, oh boy, it's an honor for me to introduce our very special guest. So special that I said I would dress up. Look at me. This bow tie, Dr. Becker, I haven't introduced you yet formally, I will. But this bow tie, do you know who it belonged to before me?
No.
No, you wouldn't guess. Groucho Marx.
Whoa.
That is the honest to goodness truth.
You know what? Now that is a conversation starter.
But we're not going to talk about that. You bet your life we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about something much more important than that. That's the emotional health and well-being of our animals. And I remember to this day, I will remember as long as I live. I was at a veterinary conference, and this very guy over there with the hair that looks like there's a lot of snow that fell on top of his head, he took me aside, and he will point out, I'm sure many times through this conversation, and I hate it when he does this, I've known him for decades, but we have known one another a very long time. And he said, I've got this idea, and he explained, and he will explain, that it comes from a veterinary behaviorist who we both know, and this is what she told me. Bottom line, we want to do something about the emotional well-being of our animals. They don't have to fear going to the veterinary clinic. Right now, that is one reason. It is a considerable reason for cats, most especially, but dogs too, and other pets, as to why people don't go to the veterinarian. We'll talk about that in more detail. He didn't have to finish his sentence and explain that this thing would be called fear-free. In veterinary medicine, new ideas take a while to catch on. Veterinarians aren't great with change, fair to say. A very conservative industry, and that's a good thing in many ways. Fear-free instantly caught on because we knew we needed it. And boy, it's made a difference. And this man has made a difference in so many different ways, not only in animal lives, but as a good friend to so many people. Dr. Marty Becker. I don't know how else to introduce you, America's veterinarian. You've seen him on Good Morning America for many, many years, and elsewhere, no matter where you turn the channel. In fact, last week I got you on my toaster oven. He's everywhere. Now I'd like to say welcome, my friend, Dr. Marty Becker. Thank you for doing this for the Human Animal Bond Association. By the way, one more thing. I'm not going to let him talk ever. But one more thing, though. We have a special giveaway. So we want you to join or consider joining the Human Animal Bond Association. And the first person who does that in about 5 minutes or 10 minutes will tell you what you will get for joining. But first of all, Dr. Becker, welcome. I am sorry for the lengthy introduction. You deserve that and much more.
You know what, Steve? Thank you. We were just reminiscing before we went live here about different places we've been, literally the four corners of the United States and overseas. By the way, this gift that you teased about, there's only 50 of these in existence. And so somebody's going to be really tickled, and some other people are going to be unhappy that they didn't also win one of those. By the way, I didn't quite realize, I don't think, when I put that in the middle of a double stuffed Oreo, that was actually going to be on there. But my wife is part Native American, and she's always got really nice skin, and she gets tan when she goes someplace warm. So when we're together, we look like 2/3 of a double stuffed Oreo. And I live in this place. I've got this piece of cardboard here. I just have to show this. We have these skylights in the house, and so if I block it, but I'd rather, I guess, have the light, not hold this up the whole time, right, Steve? So
no, that's probably not a very good look. And besides, you break it up a bit.
I am the one of the founding members of the Association of Human Animal Bond Veterinarians, and it's not something that I started. And it's some people thought I coined the term. I did not, but I did do part of helping to popularize it. And I think my sister's a physician, my brother's an attorney, And we talk sometimes, we have the only inexhaustible, irrefutable source of energy that powers the profession in that human-animal bond. And we're blessed enough to get to celebrate, protect, and nurture that bond every day.
Well, before we talk about fear-free, I'll ask you that question. The impossible question. What is the human-animal bond?
When I answer that, Steve, I say it's like love. It's nebulous, but easily understood by anybody that's felt it. And I used to end a show by saying there's only one greatest pet in the world, and try to use my best radio voice, not as good as yours, but every family has it. And I'm Dr. Marty Becker, blah, 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 blah. But I truly feel that way. Steve, you interface with, over the years, with millions of pet parents. We just call them pet owners. Now it seems funny to say pet owner, right? But
yeah,
they just feel like, Mr. Dale, if you could just come to my house and meet my cat or meet my dog, you would know why it's so special. I'm not crazy. This thing truly is the greatest cat I've ever seen in my life, right? And I follow you on Facebook, and I see Ethel, and I see those different things. And that's a great thing I think about Facebook, is it's given us a chance, and other things, Instagram, let us celebrate that together. How else would I get to see Ethel with a stick walking around the middle of Chicago? And with what's happened with COVID, people that have never had pets before, I've heard this in my own community, and I've heard it from the country at large. Now I know what all the fuss is about. I used to think these people had lost their frickin' rocker. I saw their dog using its tongue as toilet paper, and then they let it kiss them fully on the mouth. Are you kidding me? And now they're the same way. It's just kind of neat to see that and during COVID, we saw it go from animal to pet to family member to child. It was a child before COVID. Now human life support system cleverly disguised as a four-legged child.
Why do you think there were so many adoptions during COVID? I mean, one reason, clearly, the shelters called for help. The shelter said, we don't even know if we're going to be able to go into work, to walk the dogs, to feed the dogs, or cats, or to clean litter boxes. So clearly, there was a need, and there were altruistic reasons. I argue it was more than that. What do you think?
I think you always think of when they create a product or service. I've heard this said before. This is not my original thought. When you want to sell somebody on something, you have to communicate. We had you in mind when we created this, and it fits some unmet or undermet need. So what was the unmet or undermet need that could precipitate you going to a shelter where you had never been, or being a first-time pet parent? And I think that's the fact that you needed something to handle uncertainty and stress. And so, they always say the only thing that's certain is death and taxes. Well, I'll tell you another one is the unconditional love of a pet. I see this myself. We lost somebody to COVID last year. Had some very bad news recently. And my wife, you had asked about her. She slipped on a grape in a grocery store in a pair of cowboy boots. Sounds like a comedy routine, but tore a rotator cuff in her biceps tendon. She came home after the surgery. She gets in bed, and normally this little dog Cutie Pie, who'll probably make an appearance here sometime, he's down eating supper right now, I think, normally he would jump up. The bed's kind of high and Teresa's kind of short, so she has these stairs going up into bed. He'd run up those and fly off of her guts like a trampoline. He goes up slow. He gets in and nuzzles right by her. Perfectly the amount to come in there. And Steve, I see you smiling, but how many times have you heard that same damn thing from people? So that's what I think. I think it was just, we want to love and be loved, to need and be needed.
Turn around.
Yep, there he is.
Yeah.
Hey, son.
Well, the reason why I was smiling is because as happens periodically, I answered the question with different words, but close, pretty much the same exact way. I think that innately we were meeting our own need, needing something that we could depend on. And I've answered that question over and over, and it's so funny to me that you answered it the same exact way. We did not rehearse that. Now, before we talk about fear-free, which is what you're here greatly to talk about, I want to talk about what we can give away. So the The
Oh my
Human
God.
Animal Bond Association is also a member. It's a non-for-profit group, but we're a membership organization as well. And if you join, not only do you get all these benefits described on our website, I'm not going to go through them all now, which includes a newsletter, which includes an opportunity to watch video presentations such as this. If you join, and we'll know it's you because you could do, or Cutie Pie can do this, hashtag fear-free. Easy enough. Hashtag fear-free, so we know it's you. Then we can send you, what have we got?
Oh
Come
my
on
gosh.
down,
You're
Dr.
ready,
Becker.
ready? Here we come. You're not going to believe this.
That's
Wait, hold on. I lost the thing here. It is a survivor, and it is a dog, doing what to 2020? Is that the most awesome thing you've ever seen? Actually had a graphic artist. She said, I've worked on a lot of things in a 40-year career, and I never thought I would design this thing. So
and that's a Christmas ornament, right?
It's a Christmas. Yeah, it's made to be hung. It's actually powder coated steel. This thing is amazing. So
okay, so if
Steve, I only got 50, and I'm giving you one too. So this is rare.
What's real? I'm giving up mine. I'll take mine if you have more, but it's one for one of you. So we really want you to have one. We appreciate you joining and watching this, where we talk about the emotional lives of pets. Now, Dr. Becker, when you went to veterinary school in 1833, when you first went to veterinary school, did they actually say to you, our dogs, our cats don't have emotions?
Yes. Yeah. There was two things that I remember. One is how many times you heard don't anthropomorphize human emotions with pet emotions. And Steve, there's certain things. My mom died when she was 89. There's only 2 times that she got really excited about me doing something. I don't know what your mom was like when, you were a sports broadcaster and you're doing all these different things and you interview Groucho Marx and Lucille Ball and all this stuff. When I was in Reader's Digest, Mom was on the toilet with one of the first portable phones that looked like a loaf of bread. And she goes, I could hear her, they're repeatedly flushing the toilet. But Marty, you're in Reader's Digest with an article. And the second one was at the Smithsonian Institution. I debated a knitted brow intellectual about, do pets have emotions like humans? And I had the crowd, Steve. He was like, they don't. And I had the crowd. I said, anybody that has come home, that has seen another pet, and they smell you, and you come home late and they smell you, and they're just like with their paws on their hips going, you scum, that you have cheated on me, and given you the guilt trip.
Yeah.
But also those of my ilk, I graduated in 1980, were taught that pets didn't feel pain. I still can't believe it. I mean, you stepped on your dog's foot and it cried out. I mean, what's that? Right? They said they didn't feel pain like we did. And of course we know that to be true.
All right. So they do have emotions. We know that now.
Yeah.
And we can measure actually brain chemistry, which is very similar to our own. We know that for dogs. We know that for cats. Okay. So we know that. We also know a couple of other things. One reason why pets don't see veterinarians is because it is very difficult for us to get them there, because we feel guilty that they do what they do when they get to the vet clinic, even if we can get them through the door or get the cat in the carrier in the first place. And you said it doesn't need to be that way.
I'll tell you how Karen Overall, who's a mutual friend of ours, I went to this talk in October of 2009, fully expecting to leave early because it was the last talk of the day. And I was really thirsty for a Canadian beer. It was up in Vancouver Island in Victoria. And Idaho is a heavy LDS or Mormon population. So our beer's 3.2. I won't say what we call it's like drinking blank, but up in Canada, it ain't 3.2, and it tastes really good up there. So I was going to have a good old Molson or something. And Teresa was in town, might get dinner a little bit early, but she had me from the start. She started out by saying fear is the worst thing a social species could experience, and it causes permanent damage to the brain. That those of us in veterinary medicine are causing repeat severe psychological damage to pets by what we are doing or not doing. Behavior produces a physiologic response, so behavior is medicine. Fear is caused by something painful or something disturbing. The example she used was cutting the nails too short. That's painful. Now seeing the nail trimmers or being taken back through those doors to the treatment area where the nail trimmers are is disturbing. Having a vaccination that hurt, a botched blood draw, an injection of Cerenia, which we all know is really stings a lot, or say an intramuscular bolus of antibiotics, that's painful. Now seeing the syringe and the needle is disturbing. And this is where she really got me. There was the two things she hit the most, because I, like every other veterinarian, had seen all the signs of fear, anxiety, and stress, shivering, shaking, yawning, salivating, lip licking, jumping, biting, scratching, hiding, furrowed brow, tucked tail, pinned ears, blah, 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 blah. But when she went through the signs of it, there was a picture of a dog sitting on the floor with its head between its legs. And I used to think that was always a sign that they were taking a nap. I thought I thought they're so relaxed. They're just chilled out, right? Why can't they all be like that? That is the worst it can be.
Yeah, you're talking about learned helplessness, I think.
Yeah. Another term is collapsing immobility. So in the defense cascade, as a phrase that behaviorists use, first is alert. I hear, they're like, shut the vets here. Or I could hear a scream or a gunshot right now. First is alert, then fight or flight. And finally, when you feel like I cannot escape the threat, collapsing immobility. And the second thing is she said, is there anybody in the room here that was a child in the 50s and 60s that was manhandled, manipulated, threatened, abused, going to the doctor? And I thought, yeah, that's me. I'm one of them. I remember 3 people holding me down to lance an abscess on the end of my finger about age 7. I can look at the scar. I can remember every detail of that. It's in the amygdala. And my sister getting her ponytail pulled at the dentist office like a human Pez dispenser to keep her mouth open. And let me finish by this. She said, every animal is like a 1-year-old child. They don't know, they're taken against their will for healthcare. Number 2, they don't know why the procedure benefits them. Number 3, they can't anticipate or expect the relief of pain. And number 4, they have no control and to flee the threat. And let me give this an example. 2 Saturdays ago, got my last COVID shot. I go by free will. I know what it's for. I know how long it was going to take, and I could leave if I wanted to. In fact, one woman, while I was there, watched the needle go in her husband's arm, and she bolted out of there like, "Wah!" It was like something out of, I don't know, Game of Thrones or some shit. And everybody in there's like, what was that? Well, she fled the threat, right? That's her prerogative. So take an animal coming in for vaccination against their will. Don't know why it benefits them. Don't know how long don't know how long before the relief of fear, anxiety, and stress, and they have no control to flee the threat. So before that talk, was stretching cats out into 2 zip codes routinely, like everybody else. That's what I was taught, and was on part of pilot techs or rugby scrum restraint. So we went back to boarded veterinary behaviorists, which, Steve, I know in your lifetime you've spoken so highly of them. They had the education, the training, and the experience. We spent 5 years in proof of concept. We spent from 2010 to 2015 just working with about 250 people to figure out how to do it.
Okay, let's back up a step. So we're missing the middle part of this. So you saw Dr. Karen Overall. She impressed you with the issue just explained. And then you decided you're going to do what?
Well, if she said fear is the worst thing a social species could experience, after a couple, maybe more, Canadian beers, I figured fear free. It sing-song. It was aspirational. It's like a diehard battery,
do what, though? What would fear free do? What did you want?
What we would do is we would remove or reduce the triggers that cause fear, anxiety, and stress in certain species in general, and with each pet specifically. So we know that almost every visit to the veterinarian was something that hurt the pet, and they're taken against their will and they were hurt. So they feared going there, and actually not only just feared it, they thought they're going to die. Steve, I've heard you go over this. Sometimes you get on your pulpit and really go after this, but would you want to go to a place that you think you're going to die and then have to go back there again and again and again? So we saw this little thing that say taking the pet out of petrified and put the treat into treatment. So that's what we did. We figured out, how do you actually engage the the pet parent in delivering a calm pet? How do you then orchestrate that journey from the parking lot to the exam room? What do you do in the exam room? What do you do into treatment? So we corralled all these experts and broke it down into fear-free level 1, module 1, the pet parent. Module 2 is getting from the vehicle to the exam room. Module 3 is the exam room. Module 4 is treatment. And it's, it's been an amazing thing to see where you could actually literally make it to where a dog wants to go to the veterinarian and a cat is neutral. You and I know several of the Alana Rodan. Steve, I don't know how many times you probably talked to Alana. Alana told me when we were starting, she was one of the people on one of those fear-free task forces. 85% of her cats that weren't sick or injured took treats at her hospital in Wisconsin. She said, what percent do yours take? I go, we don't track it, but 15%, I don't know, very few. Well, now we're close to that at North Idaho Animal Hospital where it started. And when you got a cat that's taking a treat, let me tell you, your FES levels are pretty low. Steve, you're muted, buddy.
Our dog was barking, so I muted for a moment. And then
was that Ethel?
Hazel.
Oh, Hazel, I mean.
Yeah, Ethel's the one that's passed away.
Yeah.
FAS is fear, anxiety, and stress. This caught on. And there are several possibilities. A veterinarian as an individual or a technician can be fear-free certified, or entire practices can. But that wasn't enough for you. It turns out, go ahead, dog groomers and shelters, and continue. The world is certified.
Well, you know what? This is the way I've described it. And it's, sometimes you have shortcuts that explain it in a way you think is pretty clever. Fear-free was born in an instant. It took 5 years to develop, and it was an overnight success. I was told before it started that 3 things would happen. The first, people would go, what in the hell has Becker come up with this time? Because I've had some things that have, that have been pretty good, and some other things like, oh God. Number 2, they'd say, what's come along? Then it'd say, we do it, we just don't call it that. That was the 2 main things we did. And a can of Easy Cheese and spraying yourself with pheromones, that's not fear-free. I'm sorry. You may be doing oral Bordetella and you may be using gabapentin. That's not fear-free. We have 12 boarded anesthesiologists, Steve. We have 65 boarded behaviorists on the fear-free. We got PhD behaviorists. Brian Hare, the head of animal cognition at Duke. Alexander Horowitz, you may have interviewed her. The #1 New York Times bestselling book, Inside of a Dog. She's at Barnard. We have the head of ethology at MIT, and Temple Grandin. That's probably the only gifted person, but it's a system of protocols that are proven. And we have a head of research, and we try to be a research-driven thing. But fear-free took off right away, because none of us get into veterinary medicine to make life worse for animals. What a great thing with the Association of Human-Animal Bond Veterinarians. That's what we want. Celebrate, protect, and nurture the bond. But then what if they have a bad life at home? What about where they're sourced at the shelter? What about, I often say, if you want to know what fear looks like, give an intranasal Bordetella, or go to one of the major pet store chains. I won't mention their names, and watch grooming through the window. That's what fear, anxiety, and stress look like. So we looked at the whole ecosystem like a wagon wheel. The center is the fear-free certified veterinary healthcare team, member or practice. Fear-free for veterinary students, veterinary nursing students, for groomers, for trainers, for shelters. And so the veterinarian orchestrates the emotional and physical well-being. We already have been orchestrating the medical well-being. We just add the component of the medical well-being. We add the component of the emotional well-being.
Well, Barb, who's commented here, clearly you're the first. So how about this? Steve at stevedale.tv, because I don't have a way to write it out here that I see. Steve at stevedale.tv. Email me your address, steve at stevedale.tv. If you couldn't get in the way through the Human Animal Bond Association, and you get what Dr. Becker just held up. In the few minutes we have left, Dr. Becker, tell me about Fear-Free Happy Homes.
Well, it's really funny when people looked at, I hadn't thought about, see, first of all, Fear-Free started out with just dogs and cats. And to match up with our oath to prevent or relieve animal pain and suffering, the one we take is veterinarians. We found out right away it was better medicine. Steve Ettinger was our chief medical officer, the iconic Steve Ettinger. Number 3, it dramatically reduces injuries because you don't have the fear-based aggression. Number 4, it's easier to attract and retain people. And guess what? Typical veterinary student right now getting 10 job offers. And the recruiters tell me if they're not practicing fear-free, it's almost one that they just, they'll write you off as far as interviewing with you. And you know what? 22 of the 30 veterinary schools now require fear-free certification of all students. And 60% of the 45,000 veterinary nursing students are now required to be fear-free certified before graduation. So they're looking to practice in a place that does that. It's very profitable. We have 2 white papers on the profitability of practice, and it makes practice fun again to have a dog that drags you into the, by the way, Steve, another little shortcut. Somebody told me one time about 3 or 4 years ago, I always felt like I was hurting my pet by trying to help it, as in going to the veterinarian. And now they don't feel like they're hurting it by trying to help it. So Fear-Free Happy Homes is complimentary to all pet parents. Your clientele is going to go online. It's a great place to send people. It's not for doggy diarrhea and cat diabetes. It's for the emotional well-being of animals and also enrichment. It's complimentary to all pet parents, and it's not like we're starting out free. It'll never be a charge for it. And then Fear-Free Shelters, for any of you that work with shelters and rescues in your areas, Fear-Free Shelters is complimentary to all shelter and rescue employees and volunteers. And the thing that's good about that one specifically, we get to talk to new pet parents at point of acquisition. And where do you think we want them to go? No, we don't want them to go to PetSmart or Petco because they're already spayed, neutered, and vaccinated, and they're going to get upsold on super premium food, and they're going to buy their parasite control there. What we want to do is drive them to you as the true pet health expert, what to put in their bowl, what to put in or on their pet for parasite control. I hear my own voice rising with enthusiasm, Steve, but we are the true pet health expert. We have the education, the training, and the experience. And God,
I could do an hour on, there's data to indicate. Yeah. We have like a minute left here, but there's data to indicate that people sometimes ask questions they should be asking their veterinarian. They're asking someone who works at Petco or PetSmart, or they're asking the person at the dog park who they don't even know, never even met this person, but seems really smart, and that when you think about it, makes no sense.
Or a celebrity pet. That's what kills me. Or a celebrity pet. Yeah.
Yeah. They're asking a pug on Instagram. I mean, all of that makes no sense. Dr. Becker, you have made a difference in so many animal lives. We could go on for hours and hours. We often have with a Molson or something like that. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. And I think Barb is the one who gets, hold it up.
Oh gosh, this thing, I am so proud of this. This is like,
what's that dog's name?
We got to think of a name for it. What should we call it? COVID?
Okay, there you go.
That's what we call it. You get COVID, man.
You know what one of the most popular names is for dogs over the past 12 months?
No.
Fauci.
Oh, that makes sense, doesn't it?
It's true. Here, Fauci. I don't know if he considers that a compliment or not. I need to ask him that.
You're one of the few people. Well, you're the matter of fact, you're the only person I know that actually interviewed Fauci. Now that's Groucho Marx and Fauci as bookends. That's pretty good, Steve.
Well, someone's got to do it. Dr. Marty Becker, you're the best. I love you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. Blessings to everybody.
HumanAnimalBond.net for more information. Next month, I believe we're talking about, and Dr. Becker, Fear-Free will come up again because we're talking about getting cats into carriers, and we're talking about getting those cats to the veterinarian. Dr. Becker, you've made a difference for pets and for the world. Thank you again.
Thank you, dear friend.